Okay, so thank you all for coming to this open meeting. It's good to see some new faces as well as some old ones. I called this meeting really because those of you who've been keeping an eye on the press will notice that there's a lot of momentum being built up at the moment for another national demo. Those of you who were around last year will know that the UCLan Student Union, powered by the Sabbatical officers at the time, took 150 students down to London to protest against tuition fees on the streets of Westminster. It was successful in that lots of people got involved. It was the most politically engaged we've seen the campus for a very long time. It wasn't successful in that the fees tripled anyway, but we made our point. No students from UCLan were involved in the violence, but lots of students were tarred with it anyway. And it basically gave the student movement very bad press. First off, I'd say that in terms of tuition fees, our Vice-Chancellor, Malcolm has not only opposed the government's plans, but he's publicly opposed it. So if you just Google his name, lots of news articles and comment pieces by him in the national press will come up about his opposition. So this time last year, there were students talking about occupying university buildings, and I always remember saying no, there's no point, because at the end of the day, the head honcho is on our side, and there's no point working against it. And there's now been a date set for the next national demonstration, which is November the 9th, which is the day before the union's annual general meeting. What I want to do, before I make a decision about whether we're taking students there or not, is speak to as many students as possible. I'm really glad everybody's signed up today and someone as diverse opinions as possible. I think that ultimately, I know as presidents there's times that I should lead, but I also think there's times when students should lead me, because ultimately students are my boss, and I'm reluctant to make decisions without students feeling like they're involved in making that decision. So really I just wanted to sort of open a bit of discussion, and also I think it's important that you hear from the other Sabbatical officers, especially Stefan, who's been liaising quite heavily with the people who are thinking about creating this other national demo. Another thing that I should point out before I open the floor is that the National Union of Students National Executive Committee, who are all elected to represent students across the country, voted to support the demo last week on the 22nd of September, but they voted to support it, but not to hold it. A lot of the pressure on the NUS was to hold this demo, but that's not happening. They'll just be supporting it, but it's likely that we'll see student unions mobilising and getting people to get coaches down. But ultimately, what do you think? Do you think the fight is over, or do you think there's still work to be done?
Last year's demo organised by the NUS, it was well organised, but things went a bit wrong towards the end. But on the whole, well organised, because the NUS, as we know, is a massive organisation, guaranteed safety, well stewarded march for the most part. Will the same level of care, can the same level of care be guaranteed if we go to the national demo in November as was guaranteed last year?
Put that question to me.
Yeah.
On a personal level, I don't think so. That demo kind of, I'm not wholly sure on how long it took for that demo to be confirmed, but I think I'd say I'm 99% certain they had a lot more time to plan it than they have at this one. It was only confirmed 3 weeks ago that the 9th of November was the date, so that gives us, what, 2 months to plan the demo for potentially what they want to be 30,000 students.
And point of information, though the National Union of Students have voted to back this, I remember, I think back in spring there was 2 more student demos, one in London, one in Manchester. The NUS voted to back the one in Manchester, and there were people from the National Executive, there were full-time officers and staff there.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between them being there and having a presence at the demo, where at the one in 2010, they were the stewards. A lot of the stewards on the demo were former officers, current officers, NUS staff. So there's a massive difference in them being there and actually taking an active part in making sure that students, because it's safety as well, making sure the students are safe, and NUS did that in the last demo because it was their demo and they kind of had to.
On the note of rights, I have full faith in UConn students not to be causing trouble. We didn't last year. We're not the sort of students to do it this year and to not get involved. Because this is the fight of our lives. The attacks made against students and against society as a whole are unprecedented. We are facing a tripling of debt, along with the biggest cuts to the universities have ever seen, and the wholesale privatisation of the education system. And all of that in a context in which there is appalling youth unemployment and falling levels of support in poor schools and for FE students.
A lot of the students now, they're going, well, it doesn't matter, it's not affecting us, so why should we bother? And I think we need to make it more clear as to how, it does affect us, and it does matter if it's affecting our students in the future. I mean, in terms of going down to the demo, I went last year, and I saw it all, and I don't know whether I just didn't see the right bits, but to me, a lot of what was said about how everything was destroyed, it was all hyped up by the